Today we are talking about the SUQQU new pressed powder. So the name is SUQQU Glow Setting Powder, and we also have the soft matte setting powder. So I got both shades. They only have 2 released. This one is online. It looks kind of blue, but this is the glowy one. In real life, it just looked like kind of silver. This is the matte lavender one. And today we tried both of these on my face, and I also compared it to this SUQQU powder, which is the sheer loose powder. And they are actually very different, so if you want to see, stay tuned for that. And we also compared the powder to some other similar concept one, you know, the purple pressed powders. So if you are interested, just keep watching. Okay, here is our powder. It's still inside of the packaging. Weirdly, the product in here, the amount of product in here is different. The matte one has 7 grams and the glow one has 7.5 grams. Don't know why. Don't know why. Maybe it's the way it's matte or glowy make it different. I don't know. The packaging and the refill is sold separately, and this is the outer packaging. The packaging also includes a brush, I think. Yeah, a brush, a package, of course, and a little pouch. So I only bought one packaging because I don't think I need like multiple. I think I'm gonna put the matte one into the packaging and the glow one just loose. This is the matte one. It's slightly in a lavender shade. So before we actually try this, today consists of the application of these 2 powders, of course, and I want to compare it with the previous powder. I think they still sell this one. I don't know. But when I went to the counter to buy this, I still see this in their line. So I imagine they still have this. This is the sheer loose powder, and I have. Oh, this is just a name. I think they have like the other glowy ones, and I don't really have the most expensive one. That's also like a kind of a lavender shade. I am thinking to purchase that one as well. Still thinking. Once I purchase that one, I think I'm gonna do a SUQQU powder roundup type of stuff. So yeah, if you are interested. Then I think I'm gonna swatch these against of some other similar powders from other brands, because I have one from Tmage, which is a Sea Beauty brand that is like this type of purple, and some other stuff that's like similar concept, like kind of color correcting type of powder, you know. So first, before we touch this, let's put this into the packaging, because I don't want to dig my finger into it while I'm playing with it. So I don't think this is a magnetic system. This is more of the glue type of mechanism. So I'm gonna try to put this in with the logo up straight. The lighting a little bit too harsh, so hard to tell, but the logo is there and it's up straight, and it's actually kind of loose. It's hard to tell, but just swatching with finger, there's some fallout. There's some fallout on the side. And there's a lot of powder on my finger. So again, it's a very loose pressed formula, and the brightening effect is pretty well, right? And now let's swatch the other one, which is the glow one. To be honest, when I swatched the glowy one at the counter, I didn't really love it. I feel like it's emphasizing texture a little bit, but at the same time, the day I was wearing masks, so my foundation is already kind of like you know, rubbed off. So I thought with fresh foundation it might look different. And this one somehow feels more densely pressed than the other one because there's no fallout whatsoever. Like it's not a super glowy powder, it's like silky, like a satiny type of glow, if you can see. So I'm thinking, do we apply with puff or a brush? Probably a brush is better because for me, this type of pressed powder, brushes usually works better for me personally. And I'm gonna use a big fluffy one. Just, oh, can you see how much product I was able to get just right away? I'm gonna start from the eye area. Oh my god, instantly this is so much brightness. Well, I imagine this one is probably not for applying all over the face because it's gonna all be this white. And my skin feels so soft and silky. The under eye is looking pretty nice as well. By the way, the foundation is also from SUQQU, the cream one. I'm just gonna take, I say a little bit, but because this is loosely pressed, it's not looking like a little bit around my nose and this region, that it has like more pores. I have more pores on this region. And again, I can really see the brighten effect and the forehead. I think realistically, this is just the area I'm gonna use this powder on a daily basis because I don't think this shade is good for me to use all over my face. But for the testing purposes, I'm gonna to use this all over my face. The good thing is because it's lavender, it's kind of correcting the yellowiness on my skin without making it look like pinky or gray. So I think it's, even though this is way brighter than this side, I feel like against my neck it doesn't look bad. And what do you think about the blurring effect? Even though using a matte powder can for sure to blur your skin, there's no doubt for that. Good quality, low quality powder, as long as it's matte, it can do that. But I personally do think this one is extra good at blurring. And it's not heavy, and I didn't have to use too much to completely set my skin. Even though, again, this is a very loosely pressed powder, so that could be the reason. But looking at what I have on my brush, I feel like normally I would need a little bit more to set my skin to this stage. I'm gonna use a little bit of this powder, which I actually don't exactly know how to use this. So let's see some of the description on the website. It says it has a lot of like different pearlized powder ingredients, and it also have some glossy oil, whatever that means. And it says it fits to your skin very nicely, but it didn't say how to. For the instruction, it says to use a brush, take some powder and blend from inner to outer perimeter of your face. Very broad instruction, but we're gonna try to do what they say to do. I feel like this is more to use layering on top of a set skin rather than actually setting the skin, because it is like a glowy powder, but we don't know. Took some powder. I tapped a couple times to get this amount of powder on the brush, which also shows that this one is more densely pressed into the compact, which I think that's probably on purpose, because Again, like I said, this type of powder probably better to use like a polishing or finishing powder, right? Rather than setting. So you would naturally need less. You don't need as much. So make it more densely packed will just reduce the risk of using too much. Gonna blend outside, also on the, you know, highest, what do you say to this? The highest point of my cheeks, my cheekbones, to my cheekbones. And I'm trying to use it in a way not pressing it in, but to like kind of polish it, because it's like a finishing powder type of thing. From far, it does look very great. It looks like it's like this satiny glow. It's looking very nice. Can you see this glow? I think this powder looks very pretty. Look like it's like dewy type of glow. It's not like the dry glow, if you know what I mean, like a shimmer. It looks like kind of dewy, like a cream or watery type of, which is so weird for a powder. But yeah, it really, like, my skin is totally matte, but it looks like it's kind of wet. At the counter, I feel like the shopping assistant wasn't applying it in the right way. She was applying it like pressing it down, and like she was not polishing it, just did this and that's it. It's like a couple very light strokes, like 2 or 3 really. So it was not blended, it was just like glide over. So I feel like if you really polish it, it really looks like glowy skin, but it's dry. So to compare, I'm gonna... Why is it all coming out, all of the powders? I'm gonna use this powder. To be honest, I could have used this before I applied the glowy one, but I totally forgot. Prepping this brush well with the powder and basically applying on my whole face. This one doesn't really have much powder at all. Not powder, much color at all. It's basically just clear. It looks like it's this pale beigey color, but it's clear. And why I like this powder is because it doesn't feel like powder at all. So it doesn't really have a blurring effect of normal powders as well, because how lightweight it is. So if you like powder that only sets your skin but adds nothing else, it basically looked like your skin is just out of moisture, which sounds horrible, but it's not in a bad way, okay? It's out of the dewiness and like the hydration, but there's no texture added by the powder, which I find is actually kind of unique, and I sometimes want that. I feel like this is just not as blurring as the other side. Now I have the glowy thing on, so you probably wouldn't see it like super well, the blurring effect, but I still feel like this side is, you can see all my pores, right? Like I'm gonna put the footage of like this side only applied with the purple one. I think you can see that this one is not like adding any texture, it's not blurring at all, it just looks like bare skin, which I love. It's a different concept. Let's layer this glowy one on top of this to see does it, you know, work differently under different powder. I'm gonna use even less now because I low-key feel like I was using a little too much, because it's a little bit too glowy on this region. It almost made me feel like I want to set this side a little bit more. Okay. I'm gonna put the majority of the powder on the center and just polish it. Because I was using less, and the fact that the powder underneath doesn't add much texture, I feel like I like this side a little bit better. So I guess the key is to not use too much. I feel like it's looking very great, but it did emphasize the pores a little bit, which I feel like it's inevitable because it's a glowy powder, and I think this is even on the emphasizing your pores less side of this type of product. Normally it would be way worse. And back, and we got 3 other formula to compare. Okay, let's start with the purple one. First one is from Haus. You can see this is truly a purple shade. I do feel like the SUQQU one look slightly more cool tone, but it also could be just in my head because the outer packaging is in a different shade. And also this tea mesh powder. It has some like hard pan on it, but oh, I feel like still the SUQQU one look a little more blue. But you know, it is, if you look at it on itself, it looked like a lavender, but compared to this one, this look more pink. Okay, the next one is not a purple powder, but it's I think it's a similar concept, right? I feel like the purple in this one is way darker of a shade. So now let's compare. So it's like a lot of product coming off just by swirling it super lightly. This one is way more densely packed. It doesn't really have like fallout and stuff. And it shows up more matte, like less of a color. I feel like this one you can really see the hint of color, but this one almost just look white. And the tea mesh one is really like hard pressed. Like I'm not even getting that much product, and that's probably why I got like a hard pan on it. I'm swatching on the area that doesn't really have a hard pan, and I'm trying to get a lot of product, but it's just not coming off. You can barely see it. Let me layer. This way I think you might be able to see it. This is way pinkier, right? The SUQQU one still look kind of blue. And this one, I think, how do I do this? Do I blend them all or do I pick a couple color? But I feel like blend them all would be making more sense because that's how you use it. I feel like almost nobody will take a eyeshadow brush to precisely take each color to use it, right? So just swirl all of them together. Again, this one swirled together, it almost just look white. And let's also swatch this glowy one from SUQQU, and it was swatched on the top of all of this. I think against this you can see this matte one from SUQQU is indeed purple, right? Because this one is like way more cool toned. And this one, the one from Haus, almost look yellow against the other one, even though it's a purple powder, but it almost look yellow. And the tea mesh one, again, even though it looks like a purple shade, but it's definitely pink on the skin, and this last one just look white. So that's the difference. I feel like before this comparison, I definitely thought they would just look the same against each other, but apparently they are very different actually. So, you know, choose the one that fits your skin type, skin tone, and your preference. I feel like if you want a strong brightening effect, I do feel like the SUQQU one will give you that because how cool toned it is compared to all the other ones. I feel like the very cool toned powder often give you more brightening effect, and as I mentioned before, I don't find this one make my complexion look like gray like some highlighting type of powder does. I do really like both of these two shades, one for setting and one for like finishing, polishing type of products. I really like this. I now kind of want another compact for this one because it's kind of like dangerous to just keep it this way. But another thing is the compact all look the same, so if I buy another one, I wouldn't be able to tell which one is which. So maybe I'll just keep it this way. I am gonna do an update at night. And today I'm planning to go outside, so I'll see how this wears. It's about 6 hours later and let's do an update. I'm too lazy to open all the lights, so we are only using just one light, so the lighting might look uneven on my face, but I think this is good enough to do an update. I'm actually very surprised at this result. I don't know if you can tell, my skin is looking very glowy right now, but it's not oil. It's not oil. Like, can you tell? It's still glowy. This is not oil. There's not an inch of oil coming out after like 6 hours, which is very weird for me. I feel like normally 3 hours I would be at least a little bit oily in this zone. But I have to say, I said I was gonna go out and eat, but I was too lazy today. So I just ordered some food and eat home, so I actually did not get outside of the door, but it's very cold outside. I feel like I wouldn't be like more oily than if I would inside, because technically inside is warmer. But with this side, there is some oil. Below this, you can see it's a little bit more matte, right? So I feel like that is saying this powder has better setting power, or like oil blotting, oil absorbing type of benefits. And it's really, I almost never used a powder that's like this good at like handling my natural oil. And apparently I have seen a lot of reviews on Rednote on Xiaohongshu, because this powder is actually very popular there for some reason. A lot of dry skin people love this as well, and I didn't feel like this is drying, even though I am a little bit oily, but in the winter it's more like dry mixed with a little bit oil, so it's also I'm also dealing with dry skin, and I indeed did not feel like this powder is drying at all. Like, my face does not feel too powdery or tight, which is just so surprising about this powder. Like, I didn't expect to love this powder this much. It's very good. It's very, very good. And I actually didn't need much of it as well, even though I said this is loosely packed, but I don't think I used that much. At least I feel like I used less than I normally would with a like loose setting powder. Or this one, which I don't think we can judge the setting powder power of this one, because it's like a finishing powder, like to make your skin glowy, but I feel like it's still there. Touching my forehead, it's so obvious this side is like dry and this side is slightly more oily. And yeah, blotting at this side is more mattified, but this side is just not. This powder is, yeah, really something else I have never touched before. I did feel like this emphasized my pores a little bit though, the blue one, but it's not that much. And again, I love it. I still have this glow on my skin. It did not fade. And yeah, that's it. The conclusion, I really loved these two powders, and I would probably use them on a daily. And that's it, that's the update. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video is helpful for you, and I'll see you the next time. Bye.